That evening, Marilla went to Mrs. Linda's house. I heard about Anne's trouble in school, said Mrs. Lynde. I don't know what to do, said Marilla. She said she won't go back to school. Please give me some advice. Don't worry, Marilla, said Mrs. Lynde. I've raised 10 children. Just let her stay home. Soon she will want to go back to school. Marilla did nothing and then stayed at home. Diana was Anne's only friend during those days. One evening, Marilla found Anne crying in the kitchen. What's the matter, child? She asked in surprise. I love Diana so much, said Anne. I can live without her, but what will I do when she marries? I can imagine her wedding in the churches. She will be in her long white dress. After the wedding, her husband will take her away. Oh, I will never see her again. Marilla tried not to laugh, but she couldn't stop herself. What an imaginative girl you are, she cried. Suddenly Anne felt foolish. A few days later, Anne decided to go back to school. The new school year began. Mr. Philip left and a new teacher came. Anne loved her new teachers, Miss Stacy. One day, Anne came home with some exciting news. We will be putting on a play at Christmas time. Putting on a play at the Christmas time, she said. I will play the Fairy Queen. I've already learned some of my lines. Matthew noticed that all the girls wore pretty dresses with puffed sleeves, except Anne. Her dresses were very plain and she always wore an apron. So he went to Mrs. Lynde and asked her to make a pretty dress for Anne. Mrs. Lynde was good at making dresses. She promised to make a beautiful new dress. Matthew gave Anne her new dress on Christmas morning. It was light red with a silk hairband. Anne burst into tears. Don't you like it? asked Matthew. Oh, said Anne, it's the most beautiful dress I've ever seen, and it has puff sleeve. It's perfect. Thank you, Matthew. She threw her arm around Matthew's neck and kissed his cheek. Marilla had tears in her eyes, too. On the night of school play, Anne wore her pretty new dress. She stood on stage and spoke a line confidently. She looked pretty as any of the girls. One April evening, Marilla left home and found Anne lying on her bed. Oh, cried Anne, don't look at me. My life is ruined. What's the matter? Asked Marilla. Then she noticed something strange about Anne's hair. Oh, Anne, what have you done? Your hair is green. I bought a bottle of hair dye from a man who came to the doors, said Anne. He said my hair would be black, but it turned green. What should I do? Marilla washed Anne's hair again and again, but the color didn't change. Anne stayed home for a week and washed her hair every day. It was still green. Finally, Marilla said she would have to cut it all off. Anne was left with very short hairs. Next day at school, everyone talked about Anne's new hairstyle. Only Diana knew her secret. That summer, Anne and her friends were playing in the old boat. Today, let's imagine I'm a prisoner, said Anne. I will escape by boat. I will lie down in it and the river will carry down to the bridge. You can meet me there. The boat began to carry Anne down the river. But suddenly Anne felt something was wrong. Water was coming in very fast through the hole in the bottom of the boat. Anne looked around and caught a branch over the river. Then, when Anne was about to fall, Gilbert came in his boat. Anne, what are you doing there? He asked and helped Anne into his boat. When the boat reached the shore, Anne began walking away. Anne, wait, said Gilbert. I'm sorry I called you Carrot. Can we be friends? Anne almost said yes, but she remembered how angry she was with him all those years. No, she said coldly. I can never be your friend, Gilbert bullied her. I never ask you again, Anne Shirley, said Gilbert. He began rowing away. Anne should have been happy, but instead she wanted to cry. Chapter 4 A Year of Change. One night, Marilla told Anne that she had talked to Miss Stacy. And Miss Stacy said, "You are doing well in school," said Marilla. "She wants you to study for the exam for Queen's College in Charlottetown. If you pass the exam and study at Queen's, you can become a teacher." "Marilla, I'd love to be a teacher," said Anne happily. So every afternoon, Anne and some of students stay late at school. Miss Stacy helped them prepare for the exam. Diana didn't want to go to college, so she went home early. Gilbert stayed and studied with Anne, but he didn't even look at her, and was surprised at how much it upset her. She knew she should forgive him, and if we asked again, she would say yes. On afternoon, Mrs. Lynde with Marilla. "Your aunt is a big girl now," said Mrs. Lynde. "She's taller than you." "Yeah, she is," said Marilla. "And she has grown into a nice young woman. Matthew and I are so proud of her." "And she is very beautiful," said Mrs. Lynde. "Those beautiful green eyes and that red-brown hair. She's a really pretty girl that makes all the other girls look so plain. I can't imagine my life without her," sighed Marilla. Later, Matthew saw his sister crying in the kitchen. "What's the matter?" he asked. "I was thinking about Anne," said Marilla. "I'll miss her when she goes away to college. But she can't come home on the weekend," said Matthew. Matthew hadn't noticed how much Anne had grown. To him, Anne would always be the small girl he had brought home from the train station. "I'll miss her too," said Matthew. Time passed quickly and studied hard. In June, she took the important examination and waited anxiously for the result. 3 weeks later, Diana ran into the kitchen at Green Gables carrying a newspaper. "Look, Anne," she cried. "It's in the newspaper. You are first with Gilbert." Out of her students, Anne took the newspaper and saw her name at the top of the list. For the first time in her life, she could not speak even one word. "I knew you'd do it," said Matthew with a warm smile. "You've done well, Anne," said Marilla. For the next 3 weeks, Anne and Marilla were very busy and need new dress to wear to college. The evening before she left, Anne put on one of her new dresses to show Matthew and Marilla. Marilla watched the happy young face. She remembered the thin little child with her sad eyes and began to cry quietly. "Marilla, why are you crying?" asked Anne. "Oh, I don't know why I'm not crying," said Marilla. "I'm just thinking of you when you were a little girl. Now you are going away. I will be lonely without you." Anne put her arm around Marilla's shoulders. "Don't be sad," said Anne. "I may be bigger and older now, but I'll always be your little aunt. You and Matthew are my friend, and Green Gables is my home. That will never change." For the next year, Anne was busy with her school life at Queen's College. Gilbert was also at Queen's, and sometimes Anne saw him, but she didn't want to speak to him first. Gilbert never looked at her. At the end of college year, they were examinations, and studied hard for them. She wanted to go to Redmond College. "I'd love to get a high school," she thought. "Or if I win the every price. I can get a 4-year scholarship to Redmond College. The every prize was for the student who was best at English essay writing and wait for news of the examination. Finally, the day arrived. It's Gilbert. He has the highest score, shot the boy. He got the gold medal and was disappointed. But then she heard someone shout, and Shirley has won the every prize. All the girls came up to Aunt. We are really proud of Aunt, he said. Back to Green Gables. Anne came back to Green Gables with good news, but she felt something was wrong. Matthew looked much older than before. What's wrong with Matthew? Aunt asked Marilla. He's hurt. That's the problem, answered Marilla. And you don't look well either, said Aunt. I've always had bad headaches, said Marilla. I must see the doctor soon. And there is another thing. Did you hear the news about the church bank? Yes, I have heard it's in trouble, replied Aunt. That's right, said Marilla. Well, all of our money is in the bank. I think Matthew has been worried about it. The next morning, Matthew received a letter. Marilla saw his face turned pale as he read it. Are you all right, Matthew? She cried. Suddenly, he fell to the ground. And Marilla called the doctor, but it was too late. Matthew was dead. It was a heart attack, said the doctor. Did he have any bad news lately? Yes, he got a letter this morning, cried Aunt. Oh, Marilla, the letter says the church bank closed down, or the customer lost their money. Everyone in Ambolia felt sorry about Matthew's death and couldn't stop crying. It's no use crying, said Marilla quietly. He can't come back to us. Now we will have to learn to live without him. And a few days later, Mrs. Lynde came to Green Gables. I heard that Gilbert is going to be a teacher at Ambolia, she said. That's good for him, said Marilla, but Anne will go to Redmond College soon. I will miss her. The next day, Marilla visited the doctors. What did the doctor say? Asked Anne. He said, my eyes are bad, said Marilla. I must wear glasses and then I won't have headache. If I'm not careful, I will be blind in 6 months. Oh. Anne was shocked. She couldn't say anything. I think I should sell Green Gables, sobbed Marilla. You're going to college. I can't run this place alone. That's right. Anne thought for a long time about what to do. Next morning, Anne told Marilla what she had decided. We must keep Green Gables because it's our home, said Anne. I'm not going to Redmond. No, cried Marilla. You've always wanted to go to Redmond. But now I want to stay with you here at Green Gables, said Anne. It's more important than anything else. I will teach in one of Billy's schools near here. Marilla tried not to cry, but she couldn't stop her tears. A few days later, Mrs. Lynde came to visit. Did you hear about Gilbert? She asked. He decided not to teach at Ambolia. Why? He heard that you wanted to stay with Marilla, said Mrs. Lynde, so he gave up his job. He will teach at another school. Oh, it's so kind of him to give up his job, said Anne. Later that day, Anne saw Gilbert walking down the hill and stopped and said softly, Hello, Gilbert. He stopped and looked at her in surprise. I want to thank you, Gilbert, said Aunt. You gave up your teaching job for me. That was really sweet. Thank you very much. I'm happy to help you, Aunt, said Gilbert. Are we going to be friends now? Can you forgive me for calling you Carrot? I forgave you a long time ago, said Aunt smiling. I'm sure we are going to be very good friends, said Gilbert. May I walk you home? Marilla looked at Anne curious as she entered the kitchen. Was it Gilbert who walked you home? she asked. You look happy, Aunt. Yes, Marilla said Anne happily. Gilbert and I have been good enemies, but we decided to be good friends. I think life is going to be good for all of us. You and I have each other's, and we will keep our Green Gables. The night Anne sat at her window for a long time. She thought about how much her life had changed since she came to Green Gables. Once she was alone and unloved. Now she had a home and knew how it felt to love and be loved, and breathed a deep sigh of happiness. Her life was not quiet as she had imagined it when she came home from Queens. But the future was still bright and filled with hope.